The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi everyone. Today on Aging Horizons, we've got a great show for you. We're going to be talking about Alzheimer's, and we have the crew from the Alzheimer's Association of Montana. We're very happy whenever we can get them on with us. They bring us so much hope, so much information, and so many great ways to know how to go forward with someone that might be suffering dementia. Stay with us.
Respite care is amazing. If you are capable of doing it, the rewards are beyond measure.
Stephanie Young, respite care provider, on the unexpected benefits of helping people in need.
Being a respite care provider is an amazing experience. It's something that what you give, you get back 100-fold. You receive so much more than you could ever imagine.
To find out how to change lives, including your own, go to respite.mt.gov.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare Summary Notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
I've been shooting since I was young. It's something I've always enjoyed. I wasn't feeling like myself, and my friend noticed. He asked if he could hold onto my guns temporarily. At first, I was a little shocked, but then I agreed. I think he saved my life that day.
Hi folks, and welcome to Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm your host, Kimmy Everman, and today we have with us a couple of great friends from the Alzheimer's Association of Montana. They've been with us many times over the years, bring us lots of great information, all the new updates, and most of all, the hope that we really all need when it comes to Alzheimer's and dementia. We have with us, first of all, Claire Marshall.
Hi, Kimmy.
Hi, Claire. Good to have you. And Claire, you're the manager of public policy.
That's right.
And I'm just going to call you the Alls crew of Montana.
That's
because
perfect.
that I won't screw up, I don't think. And so welcome. And
Thank
then
you.
we also have Melanie Williams. And Melanie, you're program director for the Alzheimer's Association of Montana. And you've been with us, but it's been a bit since we've been able to have a chance to talk with you. So I think what I wanted to start out with today, though, would be, Melanie, can we talk a bit about the communication piece of, I know just in my own life, starting to lose words, starting to forget, I drive somewhere and forget where I was going, or, in that regard. And I bet lots of us, feel that way. That doesn't mean we all have dementia, but there are some things we can be watching for and working with to help us down the road, right?
Yes, absolutely. And before I start talking about that, I want to preface it with the fact that dementia will manifest itself a little bit differently in everyone. So we might say something and you'll think, oh, I've never seen that before. But remember, these are just general guidelines of things that we see in people living with Alzheimer's or dementia. I also want to clarify, because we get this question quite often, but what is the difference between Alzheimer's?
Yeah, I was just going to say, because that's one of the first questions I usually ask.
Yeah.
Because for folks like myself, It's all one thing to me. So please, please.
Yeah, so dementia is the umbrella term that we use. And Alzheimer's happens to be the most common form of dementia. But there are other types of dementia, including vascular dementia, frontotemporal dementia, Parkinson's is even considered a form of dementia.
Oh, wow.
So there are many types, but they're all under the umbrella of dementia. So today I'll probably be using the term dementia, but just know that Alzheimer's falls under that. And so often we notice signs in people that are starting to live with the disease in their communication patterns. And as you said, we all have word find issues, especially as we get older. As we get more tired in the evening, we might have a harder time. The difference is the person living with dementia, it will take them longer to think of that word, and they might actually resort to just describing something. For example, if they can't come up with the word toaster, they'll describe it instead. Part of it, I think, is to save face. They're embarrassed.
Of course.
And part of it, I think, is that they really can't tap into that word. A lot of us with normal aging might forget it, but then later we're like, oh, toaster, why did I forget that word?
Yeah.
But for them, it might be gone. The other thing that you might notice is they might repeat themselves or ask the same question over and over. And it can be very frustrating for the person visiting with them, whether it's a family member or a friend or a loved one. You might feel like, oh, you just asked this question, I just answered it.
Right.
But I think it's very important to remember that communication is also nonverbal, and they don't know they're doing that. They don't have that short-term memory to hold on to that question and answer. So in their mind, it's a brand new question.
Sure.
So the most important thing for us to remember is to act like it's a brand new question and not let our facial expressions, our body language, give way to the fact that we're frustrated because they don't know that. I just went and visited with my mom at the long-term care memory unit and was eating lunch with she and her friends. And I think we had the same conversation 5 times.
Yeah.
And so 5 times I pretended like it was a brand new conversation because to them it was.
Yeah.
The other thing we might notice is they'll start to withdraw, especially going into the holiday season. It might become very overwhelming for them, and so they'll just start to withdraw because they can't keep up with, especially at the table.
And what becomes overwhelming, Melanie? Is it the change in what's going on around them, maybe decorations, more people coming and going? What might change?
I think it's all of that.
Okay.
Their brain is working so hard to filter through all the stimulus and figure out how to react to it. And we have to remember that their brain is physically changing.
Yeah.
It cannot filter, it cannot process like a normal brain can. And so you think of all the stimulus we take in a day.
Oh, for sure.
And then it's compounded during the holidays. And so they're having to filter through all of that with a brain that's no longer functioning at its maximum capacity. So they become fatigued, they become weary, their brain starts to confuse messages. If more than one conversation is going on at a time, they're not able to track from one to the other. Some of us can do that. So it just becomes overwhelming. And we also have to remember that their emotional IQ, we call our emotional quotient, is also declining. So emotionally, they're not able to handle all of that stimulus and sort through everything. If everybody at the dining room table has a different body language, they're trying to take all that in. So it becomes very overwhelming.
And so the overwhelming piece of that might be, again, changes in what's going on around them, or new noises, perhaps, or anything that, because I think we know that a lot of times a schedule is really important, and sticking to known people, etc.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to hear some more about this, because I am definitely one of those losing words people, and it can get frightening because you feel so vulnerable. And boy, does that give you an idea, at least it does for me, what that person with dementia or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or whatever is under that umbrella, what that must feel like. I know just recently was thinking about, I was probably singing to the radio, and I went someplace, I had no idea why I was there, and it was scary. So I'm glad you guys are with us, and folks, stay with us. We have a whole lot more to talk about.
Elder abuse is a growing problem, and it's happening right here in our Montana communities. At least 1 in 10 older adults are victims of physical or emotional abuse, financial exploitation, or neglect. To get help or report elder abuse, call your local area agency on aging or Adult Protective Services at 1-844-277-9300.
Every 65 seconds, someone is affected with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Many become isolated at a time when help is most needed. If you or someone you love is affected, help is available, both for people with memory loss and their caregivers. Memory loss can feel frightening, but you are not alone. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
You mean I can get help paying my prescription drug premiums?
Let me get this straight. I could be eligible for help with my family's prescription premiums even though I own my own home?
And our assets won't be counted.
If you're a Montana resident enrolled in the Medicare prescription drug program, you could be eligible for help paying your premiums. Call or visit the Big Sky RX website today to find out, even if you think you're over income.
What do you know about that? I'm eligible.
When I found out it was diabetes, my first thought was, Barb, you need help. You have to take control of this. There is help. My doctor gave me a phone number. I called and signed up with a diabetes educator. There is help. I have to put blinders on when I walk past the bakery counter. I can feel my blood sugar go up. You succeed a little at a time. If you have diabetes, help is available. You do not have to do it alone.
Ask your doctor about diabetes education or visit montana211.org.
Hi folks, and welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here talking about Alzheimer's today with a couple of our good friends from the Montana chapter. And we first of all have Melanie Williams. Melanie, you've been with us before.
Yes.
Nice to see you. Glad to have you back.
Good to be here again.
And Melanie, you are a program director. And then Claire Marshall, and Claire, this is your maiden voyage with us, and we're so glad to have you
here.
I'm
happy to be here.
Yeah, and you are the public policy director, and so you are going to talk a bit about one of my favorites, advocacy, because it's so important.
Oh my goodness, yes. So advocacy within the Alzheimer's Association is kind of a fancy word for just sharing your story. Yeah. So we are looking for, whether it's caregivers, someone living with Alzheimer's, someone who's maybe worked in a long-term care facility, anyone who has their own dementia story, we're looking for people like that to go to Congress and other elected officials just to share their story in order to get important bills passed. And it's so important to have someone who knows it, because a lot of times elected officials maybe aren't aware with Alzheimer's, or they don't know any of the details. So having someone who's lived it before go and share their story with these elected officials, it carries such a big impact, and it's very important in getting different policies around the country and within the state changed.
And that really is, I mean, you don't need to be a super duper speaker or anybody who, was some sort of professional suit somewhere. You just have to be able to tell your story.
Exactly. You don't even really need to know the process of the legislature or Congress or anything like that. You just need to be an expert on your own story and maybe know a little bit about Alzheimer's too. So you don't have to be intimidated by this process. It's so simple. It can be as simple as sending a tweet or just sending a letter or even talking to your friends and family about it just to raise awareness. There's so many ways to advocate, and it's so simple. And it can get bigger too. You can, for example, go to Washington, D.C. with us for our Alzheimer's Impact Movement Forum. Or you can, like I said, focus on the smaller stuff like letters or quick meetings, phone calls, things like that. So there's so many different ways to get involved.
Yeah, and I'm going to disagree and say those aren't small things at all. Some of those times when I think about my own professional career, some of the most impactful times were tiny little few word types of conversations.
Absolutely, and some of the the actions that move our needle the most is Twitter, because all of our elected officials are on Twitter. They see Twitter, and it takes maybe less than a minute. If you know how to use Twitter, that's
I don't do that, but I'll happily show other people that there's a way.
Yes, and that's a really good way just to grab the attention of elected officials and have them see that there are people within Montana that need this change and they need the support of the elected officials. So any way you can get the word out there, and you're right, it's nothing is a small action. It's all so very important in our mission.
So how do you get people involved with that? I mean, how are you? We can sit here and talk about that, and I know me, I'm all revved up with that. But I better have a number to call or a website or something.
Yes.
To keep me moving along.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the easiest ways is to text ALZMT to 52886, and that will get you in our system, and that gives me the ability to contact you to see if you're interested. You can go to our website, alz.org. There's so many ways to find information. You can call our office. Get a hold of me.
Put that number up on the screen.
Yes,
and
please.
would you just say again the texting part, because that's that's new in a lot of the benefits that we've been talking to the folks.
And it's a really easy way. So it's ALZMT, and the number that you text that to is 52886.
Okay.
And that will get you in our system just with information with me.
Sure.
So it's not shared elsewhere, but that gives me the ability to reach out to you and stay in contact with you so you can be in the know of different bills we have and all sorts of things like that.
So I got to ask, anything especially exciting coming up bill-wise or anything like that you...
Well, we have the NAPA Reauthorization Act. And so in 2011, we passed the National Alzheimer's Plan Act, which just kind of strengthens our plan of attack against Alzheimer's, and this bill is reauthorizing that act. And so that's in Congress right now, and we are asking for the support of Congress on that. Both of our senators, I should say, have co-sponsored that bill, so we're looking really good, and we really appreciate that. And that's something that we also talked about at our AIM forum. So everyone is pushing for that bill right now, and it's probably the most exciting. Another thing that's really exciting, not so much, well, I guess it's current, is the funding. So thanks to advocates across the country. So in 2011, research funding from the National Institute of Health was just over $504 million. And then in 2022, thanks to advocates sharing their story and urging Congress, it's up to $3.5 billion. So that goes to show how important it is and how advocacy works, and that's how we find change in the country.
Yeah, and I really do think, because as I said, I love advocacy and always hope people will find a way to advocate for whatever is their heart's desire. But we need, as you said, people who can tell their story.
Absolutely.
And the folks who can say, this is how it goes. Mm-hmm. These are the triggers. These are the things that I noticed early on. There's just so much.
Yeah.
And by reaching out to you, maybe that person doesn't know how they want to advocate.
Oh yes, and I am there to help along the way. You are not going to be on your own in this situation. If you want to advocate, we will find a way for you to do so. Whether it's Twitter or anything else, I will help you and help you to share your story with elected officials.
That's great, because I think it never stops being important for them to understand or hear.
Exactly, and we have to keep it a priority. We can't advocate really heavily in 1 month and just kind of drop off. We got to keep pushing and keep it in the minds of our elected officials.
Because it's a biggie, right?
It is.
And it's nipping at our heels, and we want to make sure to get that word out.
Yep, and it's getting bigger, and it's only going to get worse before it gets better, so we really have to push for change.
Well, we can do that. Well, folks, we have a lot more to talk about and a lot more advocacy and other things that we can suggest for you, so stay with us.
Today, class, we'll be discussing the term ombudsman, a word we borrowed from the Swedes and never gave back. Say you're a resident or you have a loved one in long-term care. Now, what do you do if you're not happy with the care and services you receive? You call your long-term care ombudsman, of course. Your ombudsman is available to support you and your rights. An advocate on your behalf could be the ticket. This is your home. If you have questions, the numbers right there below me have all the answers. Class dismissed.
A decade of Montana fourth graders on Energy Share. When winter gets tough here in Montana, Lily Wallace knows who can help keep your home warm. Energy Share. That's right, says Livia Little. Energy Share wants to make sure that every Montanan stays warm, no matter how cold it gets outside. Thanks to Energy Share, we'll be cozy tonight. Energy Share is not a government program. It's neighbors helping neighbors who face energy emergencies the Montana way. Call or visit our website today. Energy Share is a good way to care.
Did you just text me?
I didn't want to disturb you if you were sleeping.
Sleeping? I'm sitting right next to you, silly.
There you are. Hey, I found a couple of Medicare helping programs online that I think we ought to look into.
It says if we qualify, we can get help paying for our prescription drugs. Oh, and there's a program that can help pay our Part B premium.
To learn more about extra help and Medicare savings programs, call your local SHIP counselor today.
Maybe I better text him.
Here in Montana, we love our outdoor activities. Unfortunately, few of them are risk-free. Indeed, Montana is second in the nation per capita in head injuries that can destroy the lives of people we love. That's why you should insist your family always wear protective helmets. But you can do even more. When you fill out your vehicle registration this year, circle the Y and donate $1 to support traumatic brain injury prevention and education. Now that's using the old noggin.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here talking about Alzheimer's today with a couple of our great friends from the Alzheimer's Association of Montana. Claire Marshall. Claire, nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
And also Melanie Williams. Melanie, nice to have you. Melanie, let's start with you on this. We're going to talk about resources and people living with this and their families, etc. And you had a little something you wanted to say about that.
Yeah, so we are mostly funded in the state through grant money. My programs are all funded through grant because we really want our resources to be free. We don't want cost to be a barrier. We know it's challenging enough to be a caregiver, so we are so appreciative of the grants that support our work. We especially want to thank the Montana State Alzheimer's and Dementia Work Group for working alongside us, the Office on Aging, DPHHS, and the Montana Area Agencies on Aging. We are partnering with them under a grant called Administration for Community Living, and we are really focusing on trying to create an infrastructure so that we can all be working together to help people living with this disease and their caregivers, because it also comes with a big price tag. So
boy, does it ever, yeah.
Our resources are all free, and we want to make them accessible to everybody. And then of course, don't forget, we have our big walk in the fall, and we have a fundraiser called TLD, which stands for the Longest Day fundraiser, because we know that every day for a caregiver can feel like the longest day. So we just want to thank everybody for their support and know that we are putting our resources to good use for those who really need them.
And let's back up for 1 second and talk about the walk, because I think that's wonderful. And I still have my flowers in my garage from the walk. So talk a little bit about what that event is like.
So the Walk to End Alzheimer's takes place in the fall. We usually start in September and end the first part of October. We have 6 around the state. And it's just a time for families to raise money to bring awareness to the disease. It goes towards research. It goes towards staffing our helpline, because they are available 24/7. They are master level clinicians. Wow. They specialize in dementia. They go through a lot of training, and they are amazing. I've called the helpline myself. It's a friendly voice even in the middle of the night when you're just desperate and don't know where to turn. A lot of our money goes towards that, and then research. The research that's taking place right now is exciting, and there's a lot of hope on the horizon. It's like Claire was referring to earlier, the amount of money being put into it and the number of people vested in this is encouraging and uplifting. And I do believe we're going to find a cure and for sure a care plan, a treatment plan at some point in time.
Yeah.
So the walk, the proceeds from the walk go to all of that. Plus some stays in our state, well, most of it stays in our state to support us, to do our work. Right. We're a small chapter, but we're small and mighty.
Yeah.
And we have a big state to cover.
That's
so
right.
a lot of it goes towards supporting the work that we do in reaching our small rural communities who are so underserved.
You know, Claire, one of the things we were talking about off camera was how difficult it can be for that family or the family members or the caregivers. Talk a little bit about that, would you?
Yeah, so when you're put into the role of caregiver, you are just dropped in and you don't have prior training. You're not no one warns you that this is going to come up. So I just want to let everyone know too, if you feel any changes or if you see changes in a family member, please call that helpline. Please don't put it off. It's so important to get an early diagnosis and catch it early. It makes it a lot easier. So if you or a loved one sense something or you see it in someone else, please just talk about it and call the helpline, and they'll help you through it.
And one of the things that you said that was especially impactful to me is stigma.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We want that to go away.
Exactly.
Right?
So there's such a negative stigma. People think that this diagnosis will almost make them less human, and that's not the case. There's so many people that care about you, and if you're feeling this, please seek help. Call the helpline, see your doctor, and we just need to get rid of that negative stigma.
Right. And you, like you had said, if you just need a friendly voice in the middle of the night because you've just had a day that is like no other, except another one's coming, that this is a place to call.
Yep. And also the helpline isn't just for family members or someone living with the disease. If someone's interested in learning more or getting more information, the helpline is open to anybody. And like Melanie said, it is a friendly voice, and she used it personally, so she knows what's on the other line, and it's friends and people who will talk you through things and be kind to you when you need it.
Yeah, that's so great. Melanie, one of the things, you spend a lot of boots on the ground time, don't you, getting out there and spreading the word. What would you want to leave our audience with today? Because one of the, as I've said so many times, you always bring hope. Always, always, always. How do you bring hope to this job when it can seem so dismal at times?
I think just letting them know, like Claire said, we're here for them. And we want to support them wherever they're at in the journey. We'll meet them where they're at, whether they're the person living with it or a caregiver, and even somebody who's a paid caregiver might need support too. So we want to meet everybody where they're at in the journey. We want to know we're there for them. It can feel like such a lonely journey, and you can feel like such an island, but we are here. We want to support. There's so many others in the state. We have lots of amazing volunteers. We have some support groups. We have some early stage programs. Just lots of opportunities to support and wrap our arms around those living with it and their caregivers, and letting them know we're here. So,
What about you, Claire? What brings you with hope every day?
I think when I go out and talk about Alzheimer's, people are always so supportive, and more often than not, which is sad, but more often than not, someone will say, oh, I knew someone with Alzheimer's, or my mom's living with Alzheimer's. So just getting out and sharing your voice really shows you how many other people are dealing with this issue, because like Melanie said, when you're a caregiver, you feel so alone. So just knowing that there's people in the state, volunteers, other caregivers, us, people who really want to help and care about you, and so just hearing Montanans coming together to support people living with Alzheimer's.
Well, and as you said too, to remember that you just dropped into this. You didn't get an email yesterday that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Here we are.
There's really no warning.
Yeah. Well, it's just been great talking with you both. So glad you could both be with us today. And again, at the risk of preaching to the choir, thanks for the hope. You guys always make it just great to talk about this and know that there probably are some really great things coming down the road.
Thanks for having
us. Folks, thanks for being with us on Aging Horizons today, and we hope you'll join us again. I'm Kimmy Everman, and we hope you have a great week.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.